I think often directors, actors get very nervous about this scene precisely because, as you say, like you see it, it's a big block of text, and I've seen it cut, you know.
Yeah.
But what it does for me is, first of all, it almost like it the function of the scene almost by encouraging us to listen. It's like pulls the catapult back for the rest of the play because it's all action from the following scene onwards.
I was very nervous about this speech.
Yeah.
A, it's long. Will I remember my lines?
Yeah.
First rule of acting. We're very still.
Yeah.
The audience are expecting laughs, big laughs. But I actually see the audience at the beginning of this. I see what they're doing. I see physically what they're doing.
How interesting.
And they're like this.
Yeah.
They are being drawn in.
Why I think that the play speaks to now very specifically when all one has to do online is put a punctuation mark in the wrong place, and a sentence is misread, and and it comes from, in this, how Shakespeare gives this to us in the play. It comes from characters who are unrooted, who don't know who they are, where they are, and this induces a panic in people. And this seems to me like absolutely speaking to the age. I think we've never quite known less who we are.
Because this play's all about identity.
Identity,
actually.
Exactly, right.
Who am I? I'm like a drop in the ocean.
I'm like a drop of, I to the world am like a drop of water that in the ocean seeks another drop. Well, Syracusan, say in brief the cause. Why thou departst from thy native home, and for what cause thou camest to Ephesus.
Heavier task could not have been imposed than I to speak my griefs unspeakable. The children thus disposed, my wife and I, fixing our eyes on whom our care was fixed, fastened ourselves at either end the mast, and floating straight, obedient to the stream, was carried towards Corinth, as we thought. At length the sun, gazing on the earth, dispersed those vapours that offended us, and by the benefit of his wished light, the seas waxed calm, and we discovered 2 ships from far, making amain to us, of Corinth that, of Epidaurus this, but ere they came... Oh, let me say no more. Gather the sequel by that went before.
Great. Why don't we go from that very hour and in the self-same inn?
That very hour, and in the self-same inn, a meaner woman was delivered of such a burden, male twins, both alike. Those, for their parents were exceeding poor, I bought and brought up to attend my sons. My wife, not meanly proud of 2 such boys, made daily motion for our home return. Unwilling, I agreed. Alas, too soon. We came aboard.
All right. There you go.
It almost feels like, because I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah.
I stepped away from you. Now I'm into this world now. And it's a different storytelling state. And I know we don't do it that way, but just in terms of this, there might be this thing. Because this is weird, there are lines on this floor. And they suddenly become kind of hypnotic. You're in this liminal, strange space right now.
Well, it's funny because we talked, didn't we, about, in the early part of this session, about those opposites in the play, and to not be afraid of them. And this is where, and I think it's a really good example of what can happen in any line of Shakespeare, when you've got those little caesuras and those little changes of direction, I revel in the changes of direction.
The thing about Shakespeare is you need a lot of breath, but you need a lot of
mental.
Yeah, because you're
capacity.
right. It's an athletic thing. You've got to move quickly.
You've got to move between. So you're moving between those three emotional states. And so what Shakespeare isn't writing prose; he's writing drama for an actor to speak. Think of it like the slalom skier. Just it's not a stop. You're not hopping around. You're not stopping the skiing and hopping around the flag. Just a little drop of the shoulder, just to acknowledge the end of the line, and you just see how the thoughts stack up in this really rather lovely and very simple and direct way. The other trap to fall into with this scene is making it all about Aegeon's speech.
No, it's not, because it's not. It's
a dialogue. How many times is the word wife mentioned in this speech? I mean, it's a lot, right?
Well, I always thought that actually this speech was not about the twins, because it starts up, I met a woman, happy, but a woman.
Onto a woman.
The whole speech is about
my spouse. Pleasing punishment. There's some reference, the joyful mother. Like every other line, she's
my wife.
She's mentioned my wife.
More careful for the latter born. It's
all those mentions.
A refresher.
The thing that you do when you're really in love with someone. With that in mind, we've got all those ands, we've got those buts, we've got those lovely single syllables, we've got the little caesura section there. We've got the sense of a story that we think we're going to get, baiting the hook. The ship's arriving. Why don't we just give it one more go through?
A heavier task could not have been imposed than I to speak my griefs unspeakable. Yet that the world may witness that my end was wrought by nature, not by vile offence. I'll utter what my sorrow gives me leave. In Syracusa was I born and wed unto a woman, happy but for me, and by me had not our hap been bad. With her I lived in joy, our wealth increased.
No way. I want to hear more.
To be continued.
To be continued. But that's great. Like, I mean, for the first, the key is in terms of playing it, right? I guess is always making it a discovery, because memories are. If this is pre-thought out, if all this is organised in your head beforehand, it's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
But that was so alive because I really believed that you were discovering it. What I really heard at that time was how, again, one of the points of the play, just introducing the detail, more careful for the latter born. Suddenly in your mind, these twins become two different people.
Yeah.
There's an older one and a younger one.
Yeah.
And then there's that one that went over there with and suddenly all these, the idea of this group of two sets of twins suddenly become individuals.
Yeah.
And that's again part of the theme of the play.
I'll utter what my sorrow gives me leave. In Syracusa was I born and wed unto a woman happy but for me, and by me had not our hap been bad. With her I lived in joy, our wealth increased. By prosperous voyages I often made to Epidamnum, till my factor's death. And the great care of goods at random left drew me from kind embracements of my spouse, from whom my absence was not 6 months old before herself, almost at fainting under the pleasing punishment that women bear, had made provision for her following me, and soon and safe arrived where I was. There had she not been long, but she became a joyful mother of 2 goodly sons, and which was strange, the one so like the other as could not be distinguished but by names, that very hour, and in the self same inn, a meaner woman was delivered of such a burden. Male twins, both alike. Those, for their parents were exceeding poor, I bought and brought up to attend my sons. My wife, not meanly proud of 2 such boys, made daily motions for our home return. Unwilling, I agreed. Alas! Too soon. We came aboard. A league from Epidamnum had we sailed before the always wind-obeying deep gave any tragic instance of our harm. But longer did we not retain much hope. For what obscured light the heavens did grant did but convey unto our fearful minds a doubtful warrant of immediate death, which though myself would gladly have embraced, yet the incessant weepings of my wife, weeping before for what she saw must come, and piteous plainings of the pretty babes that mourned for fashion, ignorant what to fear, forced me to seek delays for them and me, and this it was, for other means was none. The sailors sought for safety by our boat, and left the ship, then sinking right to us. My wife, more careful for the latter-born, had fastened him unto a small spare mast, such as seafaring men provide for storms. To him one of the other twins was bound, whilst I had been like heedful of the other. The children thus disposed, my wife and I, fixing our eyes on whom our care was fixed, fastened ourselves at either end the mast, and floating straight, obedient to the stream, was carried towards Corinth, as we thought.